اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مطمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغن عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله ومن لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في السور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم أن لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العظيم. سورة المباركة الفاتحة.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد.
मेरे बच्चों से मेरे چھپانا مولا،
میرے بچوں سے میرے زخم چھپانا مولا، میرے بچوں سے میرے زخم چھپانا مولا،
رات ڈھل جائے تو میت کو
اٹھانا مولا، میرے بچوں سے میرے زخم چھپانا مولا،
سانس لینے میں بھی دشواری ہے، چل سکتی نہیں، پسلیاں ٹوٹی ہے، کروٹ بھی بدل سکتی نہیں،
یوں بنی ہوں میں سزاؤں کا نشانہ مولا، میرے بچوں سے میرے زخم چھپانا مولا،
فاطمہ آپ کی تعظیم کو اٹھتی لیکن ضعف اور زخم کی باعث یہ نہیں اب ممکن،
کوئی خدمت میں کمی ہو تو بلانا مولا، میرے بچوں سے میرے زخم چھپانا مولا،
مجھ پہ احسان یہ کر دی جیے میرے علی، یاد شبیر کو آ جائے نہ اس کی بیٹی،
میرے چہروں کے نشانوں کو چھپانا مولا، میرے بچوں سے میرے زخم چھپانا مولا،
عاشق کتنے ہیں جو آنکھوں میں نہ لائے میں نے، آپ سے بھی ہے بہت درد چھپائے میں نے،
میرے پہلو سے نہیں ہاتھ ہٹانا مولا، میرے بچوں سے میرے زخم چھپانا مولا،
میری زینب بیکم سن ہے، ذرا دھیان رہے، پیاس شبیر کو لگتی ہے، بہت رات گئے،
میرے شبیر کو پاس اپنے سلانا مولا، میرے بچوں سے میرے زخم چھپانا مولا،
سانس لینے میں بھی دشواری ہے، چل سکتی نہیں، پسلیاں ٹوٹ ہے، करवट भी बदल सकती नहीं।
यूं बने हो मैं सजाओं का निशाना मौला, मेरे बच्चों से मेरे जख्म छुपाना मौला।
रात ढल जाए तो मैयत को
उठाना मौला, मेरे बच्चों से मेरे जख्म छुपाना मौला, मेरे बच्चों से मेरे जख्म छुपाना मौला।
मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Today we have gathered here to attend the Majlis for Ayyame Fatimiyyah and Ziyarat Majlis for Isale Sawab of late Sumayya Bai Akram Okera and remember her with Du'a Maghfirat. On behalf of the Chairman of the Jamaat, Al-Hajj Dr. Muhammad Hussain Abdullah Jafar, and all the members of the community, we extend our deepest condolences and sympathy to the family of late Sumayya Bai Akram Okera and pray to Almighty Allah that with His mercy and with the wasila of Chauda Masumin alayhim salam to grant marhuma maghfirat, place her soul in the vicinity of Ahlul Bayt and give courage to the family members to bear this loss. Ameen. For Isale Saab of Marhuma Sumayya Bai Akram Okera, the families have pledged a donation to the Jamaat Fund. Just a reminder, from tomorrow, Monday 26th December, Fajr Namaz Jamaat will begin at 5:30 a.m. Tomorrow at 1 p.m., that is after Zohrain prayers at Mullah Askar Memorial Hall, Majlis Azhar to commemorate Ayyame Fatimiyyah, organized by Khoja Shia Ishnashi Education Board. All ladies and gents are invited. Takeaway niyaz will be served after the program. Tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. here at Husainiya Zahra, Majlis to commemorate Wafat of Sayyida Fatima alayha salam, followed by niyaz. All ladies and gents are requested to attend. After the Salam and Ziyarat program, after Salam and Ziyarat, we will request family members of Marhuma to come forward so that the community members can pay their condolences. Ahsan.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I pray that you are well, inshallah. We are continuing our discussion on a beautiful point that Lady Fatima taught us, that there are two ways of understanding religion, two ways of following religion. And tomorrow, inshallah, would be the final night of our discussion and maybe the most exciting one. I've kept maybe the most interesting part of the discussion for tomorrow night. We'll talk about prayer, how to enjoy prayer more, etc. But for today, inshallah, we'll just talk about one of the ways in which these two religions are different according to Lady Fatima. If you remember, we said two groups of people can pray, but it leads to different results for them. One very obvious example was the day of Ashura. Some people prayed, like Umar bin Sa'd, Shimr on this side, they ended up killing Imam Hussein, and one group on this side prayed, they became the most beautiful people in the world. Imam, his companions, his family, they were both praying both sides, but one still did terrible things, and the other side was such beautiful people. What is the difference between these two prayers? That's what we have been discussing. What is the difference between these two understandings of religion? One of the nights we said that the difference between the two is their understanding of God. If their God is an angry God, if their God is a harsh God, if their God is a non-forgiving God, as people go towards him, they become harsh, angry. But if our God is like the God of Ahl al-Bayt, who is a forgiving, Sari' al-Ridha, Ghafir al-Khataya, then you slowly, as you go towards God, you become beautiful. We said that even to our Prophet, God says in the Quran, this is, I don't know if people really knew what this means. It's so powerful, this verse in the Quran, that God says, Prophet, you, with all of your taqwa, knowledge, etc., if you were harsh, people would have left you. We really need to ask a question from ourselves. As religious people, if someone looks at us, are we considered harsh or soft? Are we considered like the Prophet and Ahl Bayt, or no, like some other groups? And this shows itself even in smallest things. Let's say someone comes to the mosque, makes the prayer in a wrong way. How do we tell them? Someone's making a mistake. How do we tell them? You must have all heard the story, the way Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein told that person whose wuzu was wrong, right? If you haven't, it's a very good story. Go and read it. It's very beautiful. Someone was making a wrong wuzu. Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein were very young. They came up with such a beautiful way to tell him so that the guy doesn't feel bad. But honestly, many communities I go, Shia communities and other communities as well, I'm not saying it's only for Shia communities. Even I as a Sheikh feel scared sometimes. And I feel like if I make the smallest mistake or anything, someone's going to look at me like this. You get that feeling. I don't know, maybe you don't get. And I've been to so many countries, I have seen so many communities, different countries, and I've seen there are some you go to, you're a little bit like, I have to be very careful. Smallest mistake, uncle's going to kill me. Some places you go, you see, now uncle is nice, uncle's going to go, sit, let's talk about it, this is how it is. They teach you, but very gently. Anyways, that was our discussion one of the nights. Okay, God says, religious people, you have to be kind, you have to be soft. If you want to talk to people about religion and you're harsh, all you're doing is that you're pushing people away. Allah, at some point, I hope we accept this. And there's also that beautiful line from Imam Rida alayhi salam, which I always say. If you want to recite salawat. Imam says, لو علم الناس محاسن كلامنا لاتبعونا. Imam Rida alayhi salam in that beautiful hadith says, if people knew the sweetness of our teachings, everyone would have followed us. Imam Rida doesn't make a promise that's not true, by the way. Do you agree? He promises, if people knew the sweetness of our teachings, they would have followed us. Now I have a question from you. Why is it that not only the numbers of Shia is not increasing, sometimes even with our own children we have issues right now? Now one of the issues we have, for example, in our communities across the world, is many people starting having questions about the Ahlul Bayt. Imam Reza promised what? If you show the sweetness of our teachings, everyone would follow us. Now we're seeing everyone is leaving. What does that mean? We failed to show the sweetness of their teachings. You have to talk about Ahlul Bayt and their teachings in such a way that when it receives someone, they're like, oh, that's so nice, so useful, so beneficial. And I want to share another hadith with you. It's so powerful. These are things that we really need to at some point start talking about it in our community. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam had many students. You may have heard this in other lectures. Imagine being the student of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam directly. Now if you hear someone's been to Hose, I don't know, 10 years, 20 years, you're like, MashaAllah. This is a student of Imam Sadiq himself. Oof! The best hoser in the world, right? The hadith says, even to some of his own students, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, you guys don't teach religion. The religion you know is good for yourself, but when you go and talk to others, you ruin it. The way you say it makes it not nice. This is such an important point. Even you can be a student of Imam Sadiq and your knowledge, taqwa, piety, everything is great, but if you don't know how to communicate that with people, slowly you push them away. So Imam Sadiq alayhi salam had some special students said, you guys go and talk to people. You know how to talk to people. You know how to pass the sweetness of our teachings to them. Now many of us, with our good intentions, we have taken the responsibility to teach religion to others. But we should check ourselves after a few years when I talk to people, or am I getting them more interested in this religion, or am I just pushing them away? Sometimes I'll say this just between us. No one's watching anyway. It's just a few hundred people, maybe at home, between us. There are some people who talk about God, Ahlul Bayt, and I sometimes wish I would love if you just didn't talk. And honestly, some of the work we do for religion, if we just stopped, I think people would start loving Ahlul Bayt. Because it's so important the way you communicate it. It's so important which angle you took. God tells even to his prophet, you have to be a certain way for people to listen. Imam Sadiq, even to some of his students, said, you guys know. Well, these are just some, what can we say? It's just some pain of the heart that I was sharing with you. But anyways, religion can be so beautiful if it's done right, if it's communicated right. We spoke about all of this the previous night. Yesterday we spoke a little bit about death, talking to God. Tonight I want to talk a little bit about another thing, the difference between these two religions. Just to refresh our memory, Lady Fatima said there's two religions. One that doesn't help you, one that does. Please recite the salawat. Let's go to the Quran. Surah, the second Surah, Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 118. The verse says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وقال الذين لا يعلمون لولا يكلمنا الله أو تأتينا آية كذلك قال الذين من قبلهم مثل قولهم تشابهت قلوبهم قد بينا الآيات لقوم يوقنون. It's such a beautiful story in the verse. The verse is saying a group of people have come and they're saying something. لولا يكلمنا الله أو تأتينا آية. Why is God not talking to us? Why is God not sending a sign? Very beautiful question, right? If you remember, last night we ended the talk with the point that you have to talk to God. Whatever problem you have, take it to God. We read lines from Munajat Sha'baniyah of how the Ma'sumin speak to God. So go talk to God. Whatever problem you have, share it with God. Now another question may be, okay, I'll talk to God. For example, someone wants to start doing this. Although if someone has spoken to God for a long time, they wouldn't have this question. But initially someone may ask this question, Sheikh, why is God not talking to me? Why is He not sending a sign to me? What do you think Quran says about these people? He says, these group of people are not the first to have this question. كَذَلِكَ قَالَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. He says there were even people before this group that had the same question. So what is Quran saying? From the beginning of Insan's life, there have been people who are like, why is God not talking to me? If I have a creator, why is He not talking to me? God, why are you not sending a sign? So Quran says that wasn't a new question. It was there all along before our Prophet. And if we look at our own lives, I think it's a question that we have as well. Many of us may now think, yeah, that's actually a good question. Why is God not sending me a sign? Why is God not talking to me? What does Quran say? Quran says, تَشَابَهَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. You may think that Quran would say, hey, you want God to talk to you? Who are you for God to talk to you? God talks to prophets. Nah, Quran doesn't say that. Quran doesn't say what they want is wrong. They said, we want God to talk to us. And Quran doesn't say, no, that's a bad thing you want. It doesn't say that. It says something else. It says, yes, you should want that. But why is it that you cannot feel God is talking to you? Because there's something going on in your heart. تَشَابَهَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. The reason people before you couldn't hear God talking to them, the reason you can't hear God talking to you is that something is going on in your heart. And then the verse continues, قَدْ بَيَّنَّا الْآيَاتِ لِقَوْمٍ يُوقِنُونَ. Not only God has sent signs for you, قَدْ بَيَّنَّا الْآيَاتِ. The signs are very clear. So Quran says, you think God is not talking to you? You think God is not sending you signs? No. He's sending you signs, and He's sending you very clear signs. بَيَّنَّا الْآيَاتِ. What happened? So you're saying God is talking to me? God has sent me signs? Quran says yes. To every single one of you, God is talking. To every single one of you, God has sent signs. So why is it that we can't hear it? Quran says, تَشَابَهَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. There is something in your heart. In the beginning of the verse as well, it gives us another piece of the puzzle. It says, وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. The people have this question, are the ones who there is something they don't know. Past, what is Quran saying? Quran is saying there is a type of knowledge, ilm, that when it comes to your heart, it heals your heart. And once your heart is healed, you look and you see God's signs all over your life. Your heart is healed and suddenly you can hear God talking to you. If that makes sense, does that make sense? If yes, please recite salawat. You realize how crazy this is, right? That God is saying, I'm talking to you, you're not hearing. I am sending you signs. This wasn't meant to be like 60, 70 years, you just live and go and pray and you're like, yeah, I never heard God talking to me. God says, no. You're meant to hear me talking to you. You're meant to see my signs. Do you know what I'm saying? This is what God's saying you should be able to have. Why don't we have it? Because we lack that knowledge. It says the reason you can't hear God is that there's a piece of knowledge that's not in your heart. This is why I'm saying there's two types of religion. According to one religion, they tell you go pray 60, 70 years. It doesn't matter what happens. Just go and do it. Whether you hear God, whether you don't hear God, whether you feel God, whether you don't feel God, it doesn't matter. Just do it. But Quran says, no. In this world, you're meant to hear God. God is talking to you. Why are you not listening? Come. Quran says, come, I'll teach you a way. Your eyes open. Do you see how much is possible for an insan in this world? When they asked Imam Ali alayhi salam, have you seen your Lord? What did he say? He said, I don't worship a Lord I haven't seen. Quran is saying you're meant to be like that too. Why didn't they tell us? This is why Lady Fatima said in that hadith, there's two ways of doing religion. In one way of doing religion, they just tell you, there is a God up there, you for now just pray. In another one, it says, if you do your prayer right, in a few years, you'll see God. You'll see His signs around you. So, hello, we're going to talk about what is this knowledge that if I have, I will see God's words and signs. Let's go to another verse. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب. God says in Surah Al Imran, verse 190, that in the creation of the skies and earth, and in the coming and going of night and day, لآيات. There are not just one sign. There are many signs. For who? لأولي الألباب. For those who have a kind of understanding. Again, past you see there's another verse in the Quran in which God is saying, dude, I'm sending you signs on a daily basis. I'm talking to you. إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب. But you have to have a certain understanding to be able to see my signs for you. And then God says these people of understanding, which we should be like as well, it's not difficult. الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم. They're a group of people who keep remembering God. Why? Because the whole world for them has turned into signs of God. Everything is reminding them of God. And this group of people, يَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. They keep thinking about, they reflect on the creation of skies and earth. رَبَّنَا مَا خَلَقْتَ هَذَا بَاطِلًا. God, you haven't created this in vain. Now I want to go 2 verses further. Verse 193. ربنا إننا سمعنا مناديا ينادي للإيمان أن آمنوا بربكم فآمنا. It says this group of people tell God, ربنا إننا سمعنا مناديا. God, you had a munadi. Munadi is someone who calls out to people. He says, they say to God, God, we heard your call. You were calling us to believe in you. We heard that call and we believed in you. ربنا إننا سمعنا مناديا ينادي. Oh, our Lord, we heard your call that said, have faith in your Lord. We heard it and we have faith in you. Now my question for you is this. Who is this that is calling us to have faith? ببین پس in that verse, in the first verse I read for you from Surah Baqarah, there were a group of people who were saying, God, why are you not talking to us? God says, Baba, I am talking to you. You're not hearing it. Now we're to another surah. There's another group of people who say, we heard it. We heard it. God, you told us, have faith. We heard it. And we have faith. As one group doesn't hear it, another group hears it. What is it? How is God talking to us? I want to talk a little bit about this. And I want to say that if you open your eyes, you will see your whole life God is talking to you. And if you start listening to this, if you start looking at your own life with this eye, you will reach a stage که امام حسین علیه السلام in دعا عرفه says عمیت عین لا تراک. The eyes that cannot see God is blind. Let's talk a little bit about what are some of the ways God talks to us. In life, if no one tells you that you can hear God, baby, you can live 60, 70 years and never see God. But the moment you become interested, maybe more is possible. Maybe Imam Ali alayhi salam wasn't lying that he's seen his Lord. Maybe I want to see too. The moment you start becoming interested in your own life, you start seeing God's hand all over the place. What is one way, Masalan, God can show himself? And by the way, as you go further, the voice of God becomes more clear and more clear and more clear. Masalan, one way in which God spoke to so many people was during COVID. Honestly, how many people went through difficult financial times? I know many people personally that they really thought they cannot survive it. Business is down, there is no sale. On top of that, you have so many expenses. And a lot of people thought that's the end of them. We're going to be bankrupt. But somehow one thing led to another. This happened, that happened, they survived. It was a tough time for everyone. But there were many people who thought they can't make it, and they made it. It was very difficult. Initially, so much stress, what's going to happen? After 6, 7 months, 1 year, they made it. We're all out of it now. Allah, in that 1 year, what was God saying? God was as if God came to your life and said, all those years you thought you are bringing your rizq home, your money home. I was giving you. I was giving you through your boss. I was giving you through your business. I was giving you sometimes through yourself. Allah, in COVID, you think that because business is going down, I can't take care of you. Look how I take care of you. You survived. You're there. You're okay now. What is God showing? I am Razzaq. Your money is coming from me. I have so many ways of giving it to you. Pass in that moment when you think through that challenges or not, by the time you come out of it, you have two options. Either they ask you what happened in these 2 years. Nothing difficult, or we moved on. We survived. That means, you missed out on God's voice. Another person, you ask them, what happened? Say, you know what, it was difficult, but God helped me. God showed me He's the Razzaq. Two people can go through the same situation, one of them doesn't seek it, God is talking to you through that event in your life. That event of your life is a message from God. Rizq is from me. Hello, you can choose to listen or not. The one who listens to this message from that point onwards, they will never worry about their rizq. One moment in your life, if you see God's hand in your life, you trust Him. I've given this example about my own life in many cases as well. There were times where financially with my wife we're going up and down. And there were times, maybe 4 or 5 months, there was no money coming in. And initially I would panic. All the lectures I'd given, tawakkul, I usually try not to give lectures about tawakkul back then. I'm going to talk about it when I have tawakkul. Back then I wouldn't give lectures. But I could write a book about tawakkul, about God is Razaq and all of that. But it meant nothing. At night, I would always worry, oh my God, tomorrow the landlord is want his rent. We need to pay for council tax. We need to pay for this. We need to pay for that. What am I going to do? So many nights I would remember, I would look at my wardrobe in front of him like, God, we're done. But we went through it. It was difficult. We survived. Again, a few months good, another difficulty. 4 or 5 months of proper financial challenge. Again, stress, and then we survived. At some point, I was like, you know what? It seems like we keep going through this and we survive. Maybe God is there. Maybe rizq is from God. Before, what did I think? Rizq is coming from my projects. If I don't have projects, we're done. Slowly, in these events, God showed me, Javad, your money is coming from me. Sometimes I send from this project. Sometimes I send from this. Sometimes it's me. Don't worry. At some point, finally, I looked at my life and I was like, God, I saw it now. You're right, I saw it. And the moment I saw this one thing, that God is Razaq, the difficulties finished in this area. Or even if someone, let's say we sign a project, last minute the guy cancels. I'm like, I don't care. If it doesn't come through, it's going to come through another person. It's not from you, it's from God. Because in this life event, what is God showing you? What is He saying to you? I'm your Razaq. This is just one example, by the way. In every area of our life, by the way, many of these are from Imam Hussein alayhi salam in Dua Arafah. Imam Hussein says in every area of your life, you realize God is talking to you. Although sometimes He's showing you that I'm Razzaq. Sometimes He's showing you that I am the guide, I am Hadi. Honestly, I've heard such interesting stories even in Kenya. One of the active members of a community told me that he had a life, he wasn't religious at all. He didn't care much about religion, and an event happened in his life that brought him back. He had gone to Qom, he had this very interesting experience, he came back. I told him, when you look back, what do you see? He says, I realized God guided me. God brought me back. Every event in your life, God is trying to teach you something. Sometimes He tells you, if you want knowledge, come to me. Sometimes He's telling you, if you want money, it's from me. Sometimes He's telling you, if you want love, come to me. We may have had experiences in which we thought without this best friend of ours, we'll have no friend. That friend traveled to another country, we were alone, and God came to our heart and spoke to us. Or God sent another person to come to us. Let me give you one story which is actually so interesting. I have a brother. We together go to, many years I didn't give lectures because I wanted to take him, when he's in Qom, to the shrine for the Majlis of Muharram. My brother's on wheelchair, it's difficult for him to go. So many years when they would invite me for lectures, I said, no, I'm not going to give lectures. I want to stay with my brother, we'll go to the shrine together. One year, we had to come to the UK. I was really worried for him. I was like, if I leave, who's going to take Reza to the shrine? Every year I'm taking him. I was really worried. Then after a few days, message came, that God was talking to us. Jawad, you think you're taking care of Reza? I'm taking care of him. Or sometimes through you, you're not there, someone else. A taxi driver was taking them somewhere, and such a lovely person. A lot of people in Qom are so nice. The taxi driver was like, by the way, tonight is Masalan Muharram. Do you want me to come and take you to the shrine? So the taxi driver comes at night for free, goes, helps him, puts him in the car, takes him to the shrine, waits for them to finish, bring them back home. Hala, you can either see this and say, what a beautiful person, which is true, or you can see God talking, okay, what a beautiful person, but what a beautiful God. What a Rab. What a caretaker. He says, all those years, Jawad, it wasn't you, it was me. I sometimes work through you. If you're not there, through someone else. Hala, in this moment, it's up to you. Do you want to hear God or not? God is talking through that event. That event is shouting. God is saying, I am there. I am the Rab. I am the caretaker. The event has voice. Now, Imam Hussein alayhi salam in Dua Arafah says, the more you look at your life this way, the more you realize every event in your life is God talking to you. Again, you reach a level where Asan you see, oh my God, Asan, you are fully living with God. But you have to slowly go there. Slowly, from the bigger signs you notice Him, then God's voice becomes so clear that these people say, God, whatever we look at is reminding us of you. رَبَّنَا إِنَّنَا سَمِعْنَا مُنَادِيًا يُنَادِي. God, we heard the call that have faith in your God. Who is this call? Where is this call coming from in the world that have faith in God? From every aspect of your life. Every event in your life, God is saying, have faith in me. Just like when He sent that taxi driver, He was shouting God to all of my family members, can't you see me? Past, this is what I'm saying. Oh, there's a way of following religion in which God starts talking to you. God shows Himself. And when you see God, when you hear God, you don't worry. If you see in your own life that God has got your back, from that moment onwards, your worries and stress will finish. Because you know the creator of the universe is telling you, I'm there. Your rizq from me, your love from me. We just need to open our eyes. May inshallah God give us the tawfiq to follow religion this way. Please recite the salawat.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Mominin, announcement which I just made before the Majlis for tomorrow's Majlis organized by Khoja Shia Education Board. I would like to advise Mominin and Mominat that the venue for this Majlis has changed. The Majlis we shall be having here at GIC immediately after the Zohrain prayers, which will be followed by, this is for all ladies and gents, packed lunch or takeaway lunch will be distributed. Ahsant. Kindly please take note of this change. Ahsant.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على فاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها بعدد ما أحاط به علمك. ایام گزرتے جا رہے ہیں اور کل ان مجالس کے سلسلے کو ہم ختم کر دیں گے. کوئی جا کر حسنین سے پوچھے کہ انہی ایام میں ان کی کیا کیفیت ہوگی جب وہ اپنی ماں کو اس دنیا سے جاتے ہوئے دیکھ رہے ہوں گے. ابھی کچھ دن پہلے کل ہی ایک خاتون کی یہاں پر ڈیتھ ہوئی نا. کیسے اس دنیا سے گئیں کہ ایک دن پہلے مجلس میں شرکت کر رہی تھیں، بول رہی تھیں، بات کر رہی تھیں، صبح اٹھیں، اپنے شوہر سے بات کی، لوگوں سے بات کی، پھر آل آف اے سڈن ان کی ڈیتھ ہو گئی. لیکن عزیزوں، جناب سیدہ کی وفات ایسے نہیں ہوئی تھی، جناب سیدہ کی شہادت ایسے نہیں ہوئی تھی. جیسے ایک شمع انسان دیکھتا ہے نا، دھیرے دھیرے بجھتی چلی جاتی ہے. جناب سیدہ کی شہادت کو امام علی اور حسنین دیکھ سکتے تھے کہ وہ دھیرے دھیرے ایک شمع کی طرح بجھتی چلی جا رہی ہے. دن گزرتے گئے، راتیں گزرتی گئیں. ایک مرتبہ جناب سیدہ نے کہا کہ کافی عرصہ ہو گیا ہے، مجھے اپنے بابا کے زمانے کی یاد آ رہی ہے، ذرا بلال کو آواز دو، بلال آ کر اذان دے تاکہ میں اپنے بابا کے زمانے کو پھر سے یاد کر سکوں. ایک مرتبہ بلال کو آواز دی گئی کہ بلال آ کر اذان دے دو. بلال نے کہا کہ رسول اللہ کے بعد سے میں نے کسی غاصب کے لیے اذان نہیں دی ہے. ایک مرتبہ کہا گیا جناب سیدہ چاہتی ہیں، فاطمہ زہرا چاہتی ہیں کہ آپ اذان دے دیں. بلال حکم کی تعمیل کرتے ہیں. ایک مرتبہ آتے ہیں، اذان دینا شروع کرتے ہیں. جناب سیدہ فضہ سے کہتی ہیں ذرا مجھے اٹھا کر قریب لے کر چلو، میں مسجد کے قریب جانا چاہتی ہوں تاکہ بلال کی آواز میرے کانوں تک کے آ سکے. ایک مرتبہ بلال اذان دینا شروع کرتے ہیں. اللہ اکبر، اللہ اکبر. لیکن جب بلال اس مرحلے تک کے پہنچتے ہیں کہ ایک مرتبہ اعلان کرتے ہیں اشہد ان محمد رسول اللہ، بس سیدہ کا دل چاک ہو جاتا ہے. ایک مرتبہ رونا شروع کرتی ہے، اتنا روتی ہے کہ لوگ جا کر بلال سے کہتے ہیں بلال اپنی اذان کو روک دو، کہیں سیدہ اس دنیا سے نہ چلی جائیں. ہاں عزیزوں، دن اور گزرتے چلے جاتے ہیں. جناب سیدہ روتی چلی جاتی ہے، روتی چلی جاتی ہیں، یہاں تک کہ جن لوگوں کو جناب سیدہ کے وجود سے پریشانی تھی، جناب سیدہ کے گریوں سے پریشانی تھی، وہ آ کر امام علی کے پاس شکایت کرتے ہیں. ذرا سوچیے اگر کسی کے گھر میں کوئی انتقال ہو جاتا ہے، ڈیتھ ہو جاتی ہے، تو کچھ دنوں تک کہ انسان روتا رہتا ہے. یہ بہت طبیعی سی چیز ہے، بہت نیچرل چیز ہے. لیکن لوگوں کو یہ گریہ برداشت نہیں تھا، کیونکہ یہ گریہ حق تھا. آتے ہیں امام سے کہتے ہیں کہ ہمیں اب گریہ برداشت نہیں ہے، یا تو سیدہ دن میں رویا کریں یا پھر رات کو رویا کریں۔ بس امام علی علیہ السلام اس بات کو جناب سیدہ تک کے پہنچاتے ہیں، لیکن کیفیت کیا دیکھتے ہیں کہ جناب سیدہ کے آنسو نہیں رک رہے ہیں۔ امام علی کہتے ہیں سیدہ جیسا آپ کو مناسب لگ رہا ہے آپ ویسا کیجئے۔ اب جناب سیدہ اپنے ننھے ننھے بچوں کو ساتھ لے کر شہدائے احد کی قبروں پر چلی جاتی ہے، روزانہ وہاں پر جاتی ہیں، وہاں پر گریہ ازاری کرتی ہیں، وہاں پر روتی ہیں، بہانہ تلاش کر کے رونے لگتی ہیں۔ کہا جاتا ہے وہاں پر ایک درخت ہوا کرتا تھا جس کے سائے کے نیچے بیٹھ کر سیدہ رویا کرتی تھی۔ ایک دن سیدہ نے کیا دیکھا، ایک دن امام علی علیہ السلام کے پاس جب سیدہ واپس آتی ہے تو کیا دیکھتی ہیں، امام علی دیکھتے ہیں کہ جناب سیدہ ہیں اور چہرے پر دھوپ کے نشانات ہیں، سیدہ ہیں اور پریشان حال ہے۔ ایک مرتبہ علی پوچھتے ہیں سیدہ کیا ہو گیا ہے، کیوں پریشان حال ہیں؟ ایک مرتبہ جناب سیدہ بتاتی ہے علی جس درخت کے نیچے بیٹھ کر میں گریہ کرتی تھی ان دشمنوں نے اس درخت کو جڑ سے اکھاڑ دیا ہے، اب سیدہ کہاں پر گریہ کرے، ہائے مصیبت۔ امام علی جاتے ہیں بقیع میں ایک بیت الاحزان تعمیر کرتے ہیں، سیدہ ہیں روز و شب وہاں پر جا کر گریہ کرتی ہیں۔ عزیزوں جناب آدم نے برسوں گریہ کیا تب جا کر ان کو بکا کا لقب دیا گیا، یعقوب نے اتنا گریہ کیا کہ ان کی آنکھیں چلی گئیں پھر ان کو بکا کہا گیا، لیکن جناب سیدہ 75 دنوں میں اتنا آپ نے گریہ کیا کہ آپ کی آنکھوں سے دیکھا نہ گیا، آپ کے بال سفید ہو گئے، آپ کی کمر خمیدہ ہو گئی، بس اسی طریقے سے سیدہ اس دنیا سے چلی گئی۔ الا لعنت اللہ علی القوم الظالمین وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم۔ پروردگار اس قلیل سی عبادت کو ہم سے قبول فرما، اس عبادت کے ثواب کو ہمارے مرحومین تک ایصال کر، بالخصوص جو مرحومہ منظورہ ہیں ان کی روح تک کے ایصال کر۔ پروردگار جو پریشان حال ہیں ان کی پریشانیوں کو دور کر، جو بیمار ہیں ان کی بیماریوں کو دور کر، ہمیں تمام تر آفات سے محفوظ رکھ۔ پروردگار ہمارے وقت کے امام کے ظہور میں تعجیل فرما، ہمیں ان کے اعوان و انصار میں سے شریک فرما۔ ربنا تقبل منا انک انت السمیع العلیم۔
ستم کی ہو گئی انتہا رسول کے بعد، ستم کی ہو گئی انتہا رسول کے بعد، ستم کی ہو گئی انتہا رسول کے بعد، ستم کی ہو گئی رسول کے بعد۔ وہ جرم کیا تھا کہ جس پر علی کو گلیوں میں، وہ جرم کیا تھا کہ جس پر علی کو گلیوں میں رسن سے باندھ کے کھینچا، رسن سے باندھ کے کھینچا گیا رسول کے بعد، ستم کی ہو گئی انتہا رسول کے بعد، ستم کی ہو گئی انتہا رسول کے بعد۔ وہ جا کے شہر سے باہر پہ در کو روتی رہی، وہ جا کے شہر سے باہر پہ در کو روتی رہی، کسی نے گھر میں نہ رونے، کسی نے گھر میں نہ رونے دیا رسول کے بعد ستم کی ہو گئی ہے انتہا رسول کے بعد ستم کی ہو گئی ہے انتہا رسول کے بعد رسول زادی کھڑی کیوں رہی سرے دربار رسول زادی کھڑی کیوں رہی سرے دربار یہ کون تخت پہ بیٹھا یہ کون تخت پہ بیٹھا رہا رسول کے بعد ستم کی ہو گئی ہے انتہا رسول کے بعد ستم کی ہو گئی ہے انتہا رسول کے بعد کوئی بتائے ہمیں کیوں رسول کے گھر سے کوئی بتائے ہمیں کیوں رسول کے گھر سے ہمیشہ رونے کی آئی ہمیشہ رونے کی آئی صدا رسول کے بعد ستم کی ہو گئی ہے انتہا رسول کے بعد ستم کی ہو گئی ہے انتہا رسول کے بعد شکستہ ہو گیا کیسے بطول کا پہلو شکستہ ہو گیا کیسے بطول کا پہلو بتاؤ ظلم یہ کس نے بتاؤ ظلم یہ کس نے کیا رسول کے بعد ستم کی ہو گئی ہے انتہا رسول کے بعد ستم کی ہو گئی ہے انتہا رسول کے بعد شہید ہو گیا اس کی ہی ضرب سے محسن شہید ہو گیا اس کی ہی ضرب سے محسن در بطول گرایا در بطول گرایا گیا رسول کے بعد ستم کی ہو گئی ہے انتہا رسول کے بعد ستم کی ہو گئی ہے انتہا رسول کے بعد جو چہرے آئے تطہیر کی بنے تفسیر جو چہرے آئے تطہیر کی بنے تفسیر انہیں پھرایا گیا ہے انہیں پھرایا گیا ہے رضا رسول کے بعد ستم کی ہو گئی ہے انتہا رسول کے بعد ستم کی ہو گئی ہے انتہا رسول کے بعد ظفر نبی کے گھرانے پہ ڈھاکے ظلم و ستم ظفر نبی کے گھرانے پہ ڈھاکے ظلم و ستم سجائے جانے لگی سجائے جانے لگی کربلا رسول کے بعد ستم کی ہو گئی ہے انتہا رسول کے بعد ستم کی ہو گئی ہے انتہا رسول کے بعد ستم کی ہو گئی ہے انتہا رسول کے بعد سورہ مبارکۃ الفاتحہ
Islam السلام علیکہ یا رسول اللہ، السلام علیکہ یا امیر المؤمنین، السلام علیکہ یا فاطمۃ الزہراء سیدۃ النساء العالمین، السلام علیکہ یا حسن المجتبیٰ، السلام علیکہ یا ابا عبداللہ وعلی الارواح التي حلت بفنائک، علیکم منی جمیعا سلام اللہ ابدا ما بقیت وبقی اللیل والنہار ولا جعل اللہ الآخر العہد منی لزیارتکم، السلام علی الحسین وعلی علی ابن الحسین وعلی اولاد الحسین وعلی اصحاب الحسین جمیعا ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ۔ السلام علیکہ یا مولا وابن مولا، السلام علیکہ یا غریب الغرباء، السلطان ابا الحسن علی ابن موسیٰ الرضا، کن شفیعنا و شفیع والدینا فی یوم الجزاء ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ۔ السلام علیکہ یا مولانا یا صاحب العصر والزمان، سیدی الامان الامان الامان، السلام علیکہ یا خلیفۃ الرحمن، السلام علیکہ یا شریک القرآن، السلام علیکہ یا کعبۃ الایمان، السلام علیکہ یا امام الانس والجان، عجل اللہ تعالی فرجک وسہل اللہ تعالی مخرجک وظہورک ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ۔